Welcome back to CTN. I'm your host, Robert Van Sluten. This episode, we're going to talk about gesture recognizers. If you take a look in the library in Xcode, there's a set of gesture recognizers you can drag in and attach to views. Now, what are these more specifically? Well, we have the notion of a tap. We have a pinch, where you can use for resizing things. A rotation, you can rotate a photo, for example. A swipe, that's used a lot in table cell deletion. A pan, you can move around a scaled up photo. And a long press. Now, if you really think about these, there's two types. There's a discrete, like for example a tap, or a continuous, like for example a pan. There is a class, UI Gesture Recognizer. It's an abstract class. In other words, it's a base class for the concrete gesture recognizers. Abstract meaning it isn't something you'd want to instantiate because it isn't useful by itself. It inherits from NSObject. Now this is interesting because it's not a responder. It changes the response chain slightly. It initializes with a target action, so it's target action based. It expects you to give it a target and an action. And we've covered this concept previously. There is a protocol where you can get some more additional control over the behavior of the gesture recognizer, UI Gesture Recognizer Delegate. UI View, how does that come into play? Well, it has an array, which is a property of gesture recognizers. So in other words, a view could be looking for more than one type of gesture. And to add a gesture to a view, there is a method, add gesture recognizer. Okay, let's take a look at an application. I'm in the iPad simulator. I have a red view. It's just an instance of UI view. I'm going to pan around and I'm going to change the position of the view via pan gesture recognizer. There's nothing in the storyboard. This is pure code. This project will be on the website. Let's go take a look at the view controller code. To begin with, starting in the viewcontroller.h file, the class conforms to UI Gesture Recognizer Delegate. Let's go over to the .m. I have two properties. One is the red view that you saw moving around in the demo of the application, just simply called My View, and it's a UI view. There's a property for CG point, which is just the center point of that view after the last move, or actually before the next pan gesture. In ViewDidLoad, I go and create with alloc init with frame the red view, and I give it a position of 50-50 in the background view with a size of 100 by 100. The background color is red, and I add it as a subview to self.view, which is the view controller's view. I create a pan gesture recognizer, simply called pan recognizer. There's a reference to it. I allocate and I use init with target action. The target is self. It's this view controller. And the action is handle gesture. I make this view controller a delegate of the pan recognizer also. And then I add the gesture recognizer to the view, self.myView, add gesture recognizer. Now I implement a method which is defined in the protocol, which is gesture recognizer should begin. It's asking a question. It's telling me there's the beginning of the gesture. It wants to know, should it go ahead and process it? And the return is yes. Actually, if you don't implement this, it defaults to yes. But what I do in here is I remember the center point of the red view, and I get it from self.myView.center, and a comment in a log statement. It was just used for debugging. So now I know the current center when the gesture begins. Now with target action, I registered the handle gesture method with the gesture recognizer. And here's its implementation. It passes in the gesture recognizer, and the type is UI pan gesture recognizer. I've only have one of them, so I'm assuming that's what I'm receiving it from. And I have a point called 2-point. Now this is just going to represent the delta. How far is moved for this particular invocation? There will be multiples of these. When you're panning around, this will get called several times until you stop. I ask the gesture recognizer, translation in view, and I give it self.view, which is the background view. So in other words, I want the translation in the coordinate system of the view controller's view. Different views have different coordinate systems. The coordinate system for the background view is different than the coordinate system for my view. I have a point. I just call it new center. And I'm going to calculate that. And I'm going to say new center is the sum of the current center, self.center point.x, plus the 2-point. In other words, what's the change? What's the delta? How far is it moved in the x component? And the same for the y component. Dot y plus 2-point y. And I change the center point, in other words, the position, based on that calculation. Self.myView.center equals new center. That's the entire implementation. That's the end of the episode. The project will be on the website. Just a little bit of a note. Right now it's April 11th, 2014. We're coming into spring and the Easter weekend's coming up. My son's coming home from college. So I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm still going to be producing CTN episodes in background, but you may see, if you're watching in real time, which I assume most of you aren't, you'll see a little bit of a slowdown. But anyway, if you do celebrate the holiday, have a great one. And I hope you're enjoying the episodes. You can go to the website, cocotouchnetcast.com. You can get this and other projects. And it's also a good place to watch CTN episodes. It's The episodes are posted there also, and are tagged by subject matter. And I'm always interested in feedback as to what I'm doing well and what I'm doing poorly, and interesting knowing who's watching and what they're getting out of CTN. Thanks for watching.